You're listening to She's the Business podcast.
Every business owner intrinsically knows that productivity is a great thing, that we all should have high productivity in our business. But when was the last time you stopped to think about your productivity? How productive are you really? Are you leveraging the time that you have in your business to generate the best results? Or are you potentially busy doing lots of stuff that is maybe not helping you to get there as fast as you could if you had your productivity dialed in? Well, stay tuned because today's episode, we are touching on this very important topic that most of us, myself included, yes, I'll be the first to admit, don't place a lot of focus on, at least not as often as we should. So let's break it down. Let's make it easier for you and learn a little bit about what does productivity really mean and what does it look like in your business today.
Hi, I'm your host, Jessica Osborne, and in my 23 years of business and marketing, I've built many brands to become multi-billion-dollar companies. And just in the last 10 years, I've built 2 online businesses of my own from my dining room table with 2 little babies running around at my feet. I've made it my mission to inspire you to get out of your own way and become the successful business owner who's living the lifestyle you really desire without all the hustle. This is She's the Business podcast, made by women for women. This is your weekly dose of motivation and inspiration.
And my very special guest today is the lovely Steph Gobraiel, and she is an expert in productivity planning, in business systems, in management, in the processes and project management tools and methods, I guess, that you can use to increase the output in your business. So how we use our time better, get more results in less time, and really leverage the opportunity that we all have in our businesses. You know, without productivity focus, without planning of how you're going to produce those results, it's very difficult to have a business that's profitable, that's fun and rewarding, that you can do in part-time hours. But Steph, like myself, is a mum who runs her own business from home. We have a very key focus on time as a top value because we've got so much less of it than we used to have pre-kids. We want to have the business, we want to have a lifestyle, we want to be a great mother, and we want to be seeing success in what we do in our business. And that means that the best way to get there is to be highly productive in making sure that what we're doing in our business is helping us to get to those goals, the revenue goals, the outcomes that you want to achieve, and also to be delivering a great service, right? Productivity comes into all areas of your business, and there's so much scope and room to make it better. So Steph is going to share with us her ways that she helps her clients get more productive. You know, ways that you can cut up your to-do list into much easier chunks so that you can get them done. Ways you can prioritize the to-do list so you're actually working on the stuff that's going to help you move the needle, and how to make that choice about what is a priority, what is maybe less of a priority. She's going to also share with us her 4-step review that she does every week that helps her identify where she hasn't been particularly productive, how she could be more productive, be more efficient, have more success, have things run more smoothly in her business. And it's a simple thing that all of us could be doing that would help us uncover what it is that's really holding us back, what's helping us to go slow, be playing small, to be being less productive. That's how we can identify and move forward. So today's episode is a great one. You're going to love the chat that I have with Steph. Please stay tuned. I'm about to play the interview for you. Okay, and here I am with the lovely Steph Gobraiel, who is the founder of Virtual Associate Services. Welcome, Steph. Thank you so much for joining me here today on She's the Business.
Thank you for having me, Jess. I'm so excited to be here. I feel like a superstar when I get on the podcast. It's so silly, but
Oh, it's amazing. I just love having people like you come and share your wisdom and knowledge with us all, because there's so much that, I'm just a perpetual student, I think. I love to learn and always be improving and doing more to, improve myself and my business as well. So just so we all get a good idea of, I guess, who you are, what you do, who you serve in your business, can you give us that quick 1 minute, 2 minute intro?
Yeah, sure. So I'm an online business manager, and an online business manager I work with other small businesses, in particular coaches, creatives, and consultants. I work with them on management level and structural level support in their business. So that includes accountability, productivity planning, and business processes and systems/projects. I started my business just over 3 years ago, and yeah, it's a learning journey. That's what I found with small business. It's a constant learning journey, like you don't stop learning, and I love that, because as you said, Jess, like you're a student, and as a small business owner, you're always a student, as long as you have your business.
Yes, absolutely, because it's this kind of moving living thing really into this. It's always growing and moving, and as it evolves, there's more new things that you need to understand and look at and do, and I think as long as we keep evolving with our business, it's how we keep growing, isn't it? So I love that.
Absolutely. And it keeps it interesting, it's not mundane sort of thing just to be stagnant, like you can be in like a corporate role or whatever the case is. So yeah, yes. That's something I absolutely love about, having my own business.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to deep dive into one of your favorite topics, clearly, which is productivity, sure. Given that that's what you do for your businesses. And when I was preparing for this episode, I thought, productivity, it's something we all go, yep, I know what that is. And yes, it's a good thing to have. We all need to have productivity. But I thought, let's actually start off this episode with a bit of a why. What is it about productivity? Why do we need it? What is the real benefit and value that you get from productivity? And let's get specific about it, because I think there's probably, and you probably see so many businesses that are like, oh my goodness, there's a lack of productivity happening there. There's so much opportunity for them. So let's just dive into that for a minute. Can you unpack for us, why is productivity important, and how do you see it adding value to a business?
Sure. So the reason why productivity is so important, because as small business owners, we have to be able to plan, be accountable, and, schedule everything for our business. So that's why it's so important, because the onus comes back to us. It comes back to us as small business owners. Even if you outsource, there's still, the majority of that onus is going to lie on you. That responsibility lies upon you. And if we don't take responsibility for that productivity, then we're not going to achieve, for example, our goals, even client work. If you're not productive, it's going to affect every point in your business. That's the reason why it's so important.
Yeah, and what would you say, what's an example of a business that's not productive versus one that is, or maybe an example of when you see something, you're like, oh, this is a great example of somebody who's being really productive versus not. How could we know whether we are?
That's a great question. So the way we can know if we are is if we plan ahead. See, this is one of the keys to productivity. Right? It's all good and great to walk into your day and go, yeah, I've got a couple of meetings and I'm going to get this done. But at the end of the day, the question is, are you going to feel satisfied with what you achieved? Was it enough? Was there more you could have done? Do you know what I mean? So what we need to do is we need to hold ourselves accountable. Okay. So by holding ourselves accountable and planning ahead, we're going to go into the day or into the week or into the month, however you want to, look at it. You're going to go in with a clearer picture as to what you want to achieve, when you want to achieve it, and how you want to achieve it.
That makes a lot of sense. So let's just say, for example, I think a lot of us can be really busy and we can have a big to-do list. We can feel like, well, I have planned, like I've got all this stuff that I want to do and things I want to achieve, but then you feel like you're a cat chasing its tail. You're busy, always doing, but not necessarily productive. So what's the difference there? Like, how do you shift from being somebody with a big to-do list into somebody who is an efficient and really productive business owner? What would you say that difference is?
Okay, so busy has a lot of different definitions. You know, yes, you can have a to-do list as long as the ceiling to the floor, but you know, you've got to look at the whole picture as well. Are you outsourcing? Are you prioritizing? Because as a small business owner, we can do it all, but the problem is we're going to burn out really quickly if we try and do it all, because there's no one that's going, it's not like you're in a job where everyone's got a role to do sort of thing. You're wearing every hat in your business. So outsourcing and prioritizing will really bring that down for you. And even just, I say to my clients, in your week, you need to make sure you allow time for personal tasks, or, an appointment here and there, or, taking the kids for an appointment, or whatever it is. You have to allow that time in your schedule, because if you don't, you're going to put this really unrealistic expectation on yourself. So if you've got a really long to-do list, what I say to some of my clients is pick 3 priorities for the day. Okay. And see how you go. And then that way your expectation isn't to get through half of that list or even a quarter of that list. It's getting through what's the most urgent, or what needs your attention here today, sort of thing. Yeah. And by prioritizing, then that can help you sort of shift when you can do what, and making sure you allow time for everything, absolutely everything. And I mean working on your business as well as client work, because we can get so busy with client work that we sort of push aside the working on your business, which is, things you need to do for your business,
Yes, yeah.
And that's pinnacle, because if that client work dries up, then if you're not working on your business, then how are people going to be aware, build that, that no life trust factor? Exactly.
Yes, so important. And what you said, it means you're looking at, well, instead of you thinking that you've got 8 hours a day to work or to service your clients, maybe you've only got 5. Or, if you're a mum like you and I, you might not even be wanting to work an 8-hour day. You might have a 5-hour day. Well, how many of those 5 hours are for work, and how many are for the business? And do you need to fit personal stuff in that time as well? Because I think that sometimes our perception of the hours that we're working versus what we have to be servicing and earning versus, running the business, because there is time required for that, isn't there?
Absolutely. And that's actually the first thing that when I speak to anyone, the first step in my process is that awareness. Right. So a lot of people might, even as small business owners, they might think they've got a 40-hour week, but they don't. Like me, I do pick up and drop off. That gives me about a 6-hour day. Right. So I can't have the expectation that I've got an 8-hour day and I beat myself up at the end of the day because I didn't get done that extra one thing on my list, sort of thing. So the first step is awareness, knowing how many hours a week you actually have. And when you ask anyone that, they can't always tell you straight off the bat, Jess. They actually have to think, they have to stop and think and really go, oh, okay, I've never really thought about this. So it's interesting, because then brings it back to, your perspective. Your perspective changes once you're actually aware of the amount of hours you have to work in and on your business.
Yes. Yeah.
Because perspective is everything at the end of the day. We can make that, that assumption and expectation, but if you've got that perspective, then it sort of, it shifts your...
Yes, so important. And, like you're saying, even more so than, as well as productivity. So, what you're expecting you can get done in the day, even bringing that into things like, well, what are your service offerings? And you might have an expectation of what you can earn in your business, that's based on your perception of what you can serve, or how many clients you can serve and how long that takes. But like you say, if we're not even aware of the amount of hours that we really have for doing actual work, I find often there's a huge disconnect between that and then the outer expectations. So we've got to start with this and get really clear on, well, okay, what does the business look like? What does my working week look like? How long do I want to be working? And then how can I meet that revenue goal in that time as well? Because
Absolutely.
if we don't have that container, then we're setting ourselves an unreachable target. And that's
Absolutely.
It sounds so simple, but honestly, the number of times I've had this conversation as well is, we're obviously I'm talking helping them with their pricing strategy, but it's like, right, let's look at how many hours you've got in your week to service and deliver for your business. And like you say, we've got to be really mindful of keeping the other pieces aside, that we're still working in the business, but maybe not doing the actual offerings. So important. Now, what would you say would be some of the biggest mistakes that you see people making when they are running their business that's leading them to be not very productive?
It causes the overwhelm, it causes the stress, it causes all the negativity, all those negative feelings, that's what it causes. And sometimes they're just on a wheel and they can't stop and step back and really just reflect for a minute, Jess. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. What's working, what's not working? Forget the time factor for a moment, just to be able to come up for air, because as small business owners, I know that can be hard. Like yesterday I was focused on fixing something because I knew it couldn't wait till today. And my daughter kept going, Mummy, Mummy, Mummy. I'm like, okay, just let me finish this and then I can focus on you. But, just being able to step back and just go, okay, this is stressing me out. And I'll give you an example. I was at a point where I was starting meetings at 9:30. Now, I usually drop my daughter by 9:30, but it's just Murphy's Law. When you book a meeting at 9:30, right, she's going to be, either clingy or I've got to stay a little bit longer, and then I would be zipping back, to try and get started, and I'm all flustered and I'm trying to sort of sort of just come back into myself sort of thing and, start the meeting. So what I decided was, I'm like, right, I'm not going to have a meeting from now on from 9:30. It can either start from 10 a.m. or later because it's stressing me. It's not working for me. And like, as I said, out of the four days that I do meetings, that I have meetings, it will be that one day that my daughter will be either clingy or something's going wrong, that I've got a 9:30 meeting. So I took that step back and I said, you know what, I'm not going to do that to myself anymore, because that's only stressing and putting pressure on me.
And who says that you had to meet at 9:30? Like,
exactly.
You're the boss, right?
Exactly.
It's so funny because I think we don't even realize a lot of the expectation and like what is right that we've brought with us from probably our old worlds and selves when we had a job.
That's right.
There was like the set start time wasn't our start time. And then we bring that into business and we're like, right, well, work starts at this time. And it's just because that's what we've been taught and what we know.
Exactly.
It's like, well, who says you have to start and have your first meeting by 9:30 or whatever, there might be people listening who are like, well, I always tell myself I've got to start by 9 or 8:30. You can if you want, but like you're saying, that's so, empowering to think, well, actually you're the boss. What works for you? And if you're setting yourself up to fail straight away by being flustered and going into it, being unprepared, and that's really just setting you off on that energy level for your day, and it's going to be hard to pour it back, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's the thing, Jess. People always say, what productivity tips can you give us, this and that, and it's like, you said it, okay? Every person and every business is different. What works for you might not work for me. You know what I mean? And that's why it's like, it's easy to give those tips as a general thing, but to really sort of hone in and look at each business individually, they're as unique as we are. And that's part of my messaging. Our businesses are as unique as we are. So if you really want to step back and look at your business, and whatever works for, your friends and the rest of it, that's all good and great. You can take that on board, but you've got to really sort of sit down and work out what works for you.
Yes.
Because, you know, like, as you said, I had this thing that I can start from 9:30 and it just meetings from 9:30 and it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, so I've taken that on board and I've changed that. And, you know, it's setting that boundary as well. You know, as small business owners, we have to set that boundary because technology dictates we can be on 24/7 now, right?
Yes.
So only we can put that boundary in, you know?
Yes.
So that's so, and that's the other crucial thing, you know, we've got to be able to put that boundary in and make sure it's communicated clearly to our clients and to anyone that we work with. And, you know, if I ever send emails at night, I actually put in the subject line, do not respond, because I just want to get it out of my head, because by the next morning I'll probably forget, or I'll wake up at 3 a.m. thinking about it. So I'll put it in there and just say, you know, don't respond. I'm just getting this out to you so that, you know, we can talk this through throughout the week, and that's it, sort of thing, you know?
Yes. I think it's so true. And I think we all kind of get to a point where you probably start adopting some of those, what do you call it, ways of looking at it. And it's interesting because I think we've all reached it at different points. Like, I had a really busy job back when I lived in the UK, and I managed a digital marketing team, and, you know, we had about 50 websites that we were in charge of, plus email marketing and ads and all sorts of stuff. There was a lot, and I'd be in meetings all day. There was no way I was ever going to manage my inbox. It was just impossible. And so right then and there, I thought, you know what? I'm not going to care about this anymore. I'm going to be okay with my email inbox having unread emails in it. And I will go do a scan. I'll pick out any that I know are important. I'll address those. The rest can stay there. And if there was something I missed, guess what? They're going to come back and contact me again.
Exactly. They'll follow up.
Yeah. And it was kind of more like a survival thing. Like, I had to do that. Otherwise, I would have been working 12, 14-hour days. I was already doing much longer than my hours. And it was actually about survival. I thought, well, I physically can't do it. And I didn't have the ability, you know, I wasn't the boss of my own business back then, so I couldn't just hire someone to help me manage my inbox. It was just my problem. But, you know, I'm like, and I know that some people, you know, they turn green and shudder when I tell them I've got thousands of unread emails. It's like, I know they're not important. They're just stuff that I've got. I haven't deleted them, because for me, even the time of going in and deleting stuff out of my inbox, that is valuable time that I could be doing something else. And there's always something to me that's more important than getting rid of and deleting old emails. So I don't do it. And that's my version of productivity. Like you say, different things work for different people, and that doesn't stress me out anymore, because I just made that choice that I wasn't going to get stressed out by my inbox.
Good.
To be fine, and that works for me. But I'm leading into a question. Sorry, that was a little bit of a
that's okay.
Because this is something, it's interesting you say about the 3 priorities in a day, because I say the same thing to my clients. I'm like, look, you're never going to finish your to-do list unless you're some sort of machine, because you will always have new things to add to it. You'll probably be adding at a greater rate than you're knocking things off. And that's okay. It's actually a really good thing to have a to-do list, because if you don't have one and you're running a business, your business probably isn't going anywhere or growing.
That's right.
A to-do list is great. It means that you're thinking. It means that you've got stuff that's going on. It's a great thing to have. But we need to just be mindful of what it is that you're doing from it. And I'm interested to hear how you encourage people, like, how do you pick out the priorities? So I think that there's a few little tracks that we can get into when we're prioritizing, because you'll look at a list and you'll think, oh, well, that's easy. I can just knock that one off quickly, or that one is easy as well. And so you can attack this list and you can probably knock off some stuff and feel quite good about it. And then I get people saying to me, oh, but I'm not really getting done that thing that I've had on my list. You know, I've been wanting to do this for ages and I'm not getting it done. So what do you say to, I'm just interested, you know, I don't want to burst in and say, this is what I tell everybody, but you tell me, how do you help people to prioritize their list and actually pick out the stuff that actually does help them be more productive? Because I think there's things that are on the list that you could be doing and you're ticking things off, but is that really productive for your business or not?
Okay, so you mentioned, I just want to take one step back, Jess. You mentioned that if someone says, and there's always something that just keeps going on the back burner, right? So my question to them would be, why? Is it the lack of time? Is it you procrastinating? Is it you not knowing where to start? What is it? What is it that's stopping you from starting?
Yeah.
Right? That's always a really interesting question to ask someone, because, you know, even if it's time, there's always something behind that as to why they're not starting it. Is it they don't know where to start? Is it just too big and they haven't broken it down into reasonable, you know, chunks of work so that it is actually achievable? You know, looking at the mountain can be very overwhelming. But if you realize you've got to just go one step at a time to get to the first sort of, you just do it in steps, right? It's a process. So the first question would be, why is it something that keeps going to the back of the line? So with your list, okay, so I have a couple of tricks here that I always tell clients. I say to them, break up your list. Okay. What I say is have a couple of headings. Okay. Is it something that you can knock over in 5 minutes? Okay. Is it something you can knock over in 15 minutes? Is it something you can knock over in half an hour? And is it something that needs more than an hour? And the reason why you do that, Jess, is because, for example, if I had 5 minutes while I was waiting for you to start this Zoom, I could make a call that I need to make and change an appointment that I have, for example.
Yeah.
Right. So in some ways, even those 5 minutes, you're ticking something off, right?
Yes.
So then what that also does is you can then cluster these things together. So for example, I know some people like to start the day with admin work for their business. So, you know, you look at your list and then you can say, all right, well, these are all the things that, you know, it's not going to take me long, right? Say 10 to 20 minutes. Okay. And then if you dedicate an hour a day or an hour every second day, you'll get through them quite quickly. It's that perspective again. The list might look extremely long, it's overwhelming, and that's your roadblocker. But if you actually break it up and, you know, even if you say, you know, as I said, every second day you're going to do a bit of admin for your business and you look at your list and you see what's on the admin side of things, you know, you will achieve something. You know, there isn't a reason why you couldn't achieve it. You know, and if there's bigger things, you know, that need your time and attention and, you know, that's your genius zone, then you're going to know how many blocks of those times you're going to need a week. Right? Because you count them up and you see what the priority is and then you put them into your calendar, you know, you can schedule it in.
Yeah.
And I know time blocking doesn't work for everyone and that's fine, but there is always a way. You know, some people like to work from their project management tool. So what they do is they go into their project management tool, they see all of their tasks. And if you put a due date, you know, on all of them, then you will see them come up in a calendar view, you know, if you've got that sort of access to it. But just having that visual will help you go, okay, this isn't so bad. You know, if I can knock over 5 things, you know, from my admin stuff on Monday, another 5 things on Wednesday, and another 5 things on Wednesday, that could be a big chunk of your list. Right?
Absolutely.
That's 15 things there, you know, but you've got to break it up. You've got to make sure that you're allowing yourself that time in the day, you know, and even those tasks where you, like, for example, if I have meetings, you know, if I have 3 meetings a day, Jess, I go, right, I just want mindless things to do because my brain's fried after 3 meetings. So I just want to do things that don't require, you know, using, you know, my brain.
And that's really important.
Exactly. But there's things there. That's the thing. There's things on the list that I can do and not feel guilty for because it's still on my list, you know?
Yes. So that's one of the things that I definitely, you know, I know that I'm better in the morning. So if I've got things that are time waster, you know, a bit mindless or easy, you know, I try to do, I think there was a saying that I heard way back in my corporate years of bite off the onion first. So it's like, which is like, it's that thing that you really don't want to do. But it's like, if you come into work and you're avoiding the onion all day, you'll be able to fill your day with all the other things that are easy or fun or things that you like doing. You get to the end of the day and you still haven't done the onion, but it's like, it doesn't go away. It's then there the next day, and then it's there the next day. And it can be a problem, right? So if it's something that has to be done, and it is important, bite the onion first. So go, look, mornings when I know I'm at my best, if that's when you work best, maybe other people it's in the evening, but for me, I'm like, first thing up, I've had my coffee, I'm like,
I'm ready to go. Yep.
Okay, I'm going to get into the onion, and I'm going to leave some of the fun stuff for later when I need a bit less brain power for it, and it's enjoyable and it's fast and easy. So that's definitely something that I apply. But one of the things that I think is probably really important to mention here as well, and it's because of you're running a business, so this isn't your job anymore. So everything on your to-do list, I don't think has equal weighting. And even though it may take less or more time, how important is it for your business? Because this is what I can see a lot of people doing, is they're doing things that are like, well, this is important because I'm, creating posts for my social media, and that's important. Of course, we all know what happens then. You're putting some content out there, and that's helping to build awareness and your audience and engagement and all of these things. But if that is on your list and you're choosing to do that instead of maybe sending an email out to your list with an offer or something that's revenue generating, you could spend all your time doing these activities that are maybe a little bit more fun, creative, that you enjoy, and you're not actually moving your business forward. So one of the things that I know there's so many ways you can cut your list up here. So we're talking about blocks of time. We're talking about if it's hard or easy, things that you enjoy, but it's also like, how important is it for your business? And I like, with my list of 3 for my clients, I say, make sure at least one of them is revenue generating, because if you're not doing something that's revenue generating, you can be busy working in your business for a very long time and not earning any money.
That's very true. Absolutely.
So I like to say to have something, and it could be something easy. It doesn't have to be hard, but having that just thought, what are you doing today that is going to help generate revenue? And obviously the more directly resulting in revenue, the better. Everything in marketing can eventually generate revenue, but it's just understanding what's that balance. And that may help, I think, because a lot of us, there's so much advice out there about all this stuff we should be doing on social media,
Yes.
all of the platforms and all of the posting and all of the content. And here, there's all, you could spend your whole life creating and posting content if you wanted to. Right. And of course, that's not always practical, viable, or productive for your business, right? Because you only really need to be doing what you need to do for your business. And is that one post really going to make a difference or not? Probably not. Yes, you should do some. So find that cadence that's a good amount for you and your business that you're able to do without burning out, because you need time for a lot of other stuff too. Yeah, I think that could be one of the biggest struggles, can't it?
Yes. And I think also, when, it's like, okay, if you're not sending an email out to your list, which could be the revenue, activity, why? Is it because you haven't sent one out in a while and you don't feel comfortable, just emailing people going, hey, by the way, here's my, my promotion sort of thing? Is it something that they need to really start thinking about again and putting a plan together for it, Yes. So it's always thinking about what is the roadblocker and why, because people always, they have a perception, like, for example, if they have, as I said, if they haven't sent something out to their email list in a while, they can't just go and send, a promotion out. They need to start thinking about a plan first, so that way they can, build that momentum up and then have that as one of the activities they need to do. But you see, Jess, this is the thing, right? We don't need to be good at all of it as well. So sometimes outsourcing it's so important, because it takes things off your plate. And, it gives you back time to be able to focus on other things. Yeah. And, and I get it. Your business is like a baby, like, how do you trust someone, with a part of your business and, Well, the answer is you've got to find the right person for your business, right? That's the first thing. And you've got to feel in your gut that they're the right person to do, whatever you need to outsource. Because there are so many hours in a day, and we don't have, 24 hours in a day to keep working. If it's something you enjoy, okay, do it. But make sure, as you said, it's not creeping on time that's actually going to make you money.
Yes. Oh, I love this because, there's so much of it that is really valuable to think about. And one of my tools that I have, I get people to do their zone of genius. The funny thing is it might be something that you like doing and you might find easy, but it can be a time waster.
That's right.
So for me, I quite enjoy doing a bit of graphic design, and I get into Canva and I fiddle around with things, and but that is not, even though I'm not absolutely terrible at it. I'm definitely not great at it, and it's not productive for me because there are more important things that I should be doing. And where it really helps to be able to rate everything based on, your level of passion, your level of proficiency, and see where they are. And anything that you hate doing, that you're not good at, why on earth are you not outsourcing it?
Exactly.
Get it off your plate.
Exactly.
That is really the first thing, knock off. Get them off so that you've got time to do the things that you should be doing.
And you want to be doing, you want to be doing it, because, like if you're putting something out there and, you're not as proficient as someone else that could be doing it, it's also going to show. Do you know what I mean, Jess? That's the other thing, where if someone else is doing it that can do it with their eyes closed for you, for example, social media. I'm not a very creative person, and I know it would take me a lot longer to do things. I just won't do it because, it's not not my genius zone, and that's okay. We're not everything in business is going to be our genius zone, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's good to stick with, whatever you enjoy doing, like that you're good at and that sort of thing. And if you want to give yourself an hour to play with, in Canva, Jess, you can do that. But just make sure it's either, at a time where you felt like you've ticked your 3 priorities off.
Well, that's right.
At the end of the week when things start to sort of slow down a little bit, or whatever part of the week that things slow down for you, sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, everything that you're saying yes to means you're saying no to something else. And that's the thing. Like if I'm saying yes to being in Canva, well, what is it that I'm saying no to? And it's being able to kind of catch yourself and ask the question, like, should I really be doing that? And now, I completely agree with you. I'm a big proponent of outsourcing, and doing it at the level that's right for you, and everybody's in a different place. But you start with one and then you chop off another piece and another piece, but there are a few, I know that it can be scary at times, especially if you haven't done that yourself before. If you're in the business and you've been doing it all yourself, you might think, well, it's just faster. And there's that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go further, go together. And I was like, well, I actually don't agree with that, except initially, maybe in the first week or two, it probably feels faster to be going alone. But you are actually holding yourself back because you've created the bottleneck and the capacity limit on your business if you're going alone. And so it's actually faster once you pass the first little bit of them onboarding and getting into their role, but it is faster and further to have somebody else with you. There is absolutely no doubt about it. There is, as a one person show, it doesn't matter how much technology you use and how much you, leverage, which I love doing as well, automate stuff, great. Technology can lift a lot for you, but you are going to need, you'll get to the point where you do need somebody else in the team who can take over the things that don't require you as a person, you specifically, to be doing. So it's like, what am I doing in my business right now that I personally don't need to be doing? Because it doesn't matter if it's me or someone else. It just needs a human to do it.
That's right. Yeah.
If it's a human, any human, then they're the things that you can look at, right? Well, what are the things that I hate doing or take me forever or are really repetitive? Get rid of them because they're sucking up your time. And once you create that space, you've got space to grow.
Exactly. And that's what I was about to say, Jess. Like, as you said, the way I look at outsourcing is it's a long-term investment. It's not the short term. Yes, in the short term, as you said, you could be doing things a lot faster, but long term, if you get someone in and even say it takes them 2 months, okay, not that it probably should, depending on what it is.
Yeah.
If they find their groove after 1 month or 2 months, then all you would be doing is handing, whatever content or whatever it is over, and they'll just run with it. So outsourcing really is about the long term, and as you said, we're one person at the end of the day. And if you want to grow, you can't grow when it's just you. You will burn out, right?
Yeah.
You'll burn out from doing everything.
Yeah.
And it's not sustainable.
You've got that ceiling.
Exactly.
You've gone from having, it's like you've got that ceiling you're putting on yourself if you don't bring anyone else in, because you've only got you and there's only so many hours in the day. So you can leverage that until you've reached that. You're the most efficient you can be. Everything is done. It's still you. Now, if you remove that ceiling by adding someone else in or push it, then that's how you can grow.
So I like that analogy.
So a few levers there, isn't there, you can shift, but you will have to. You reach a point where you can't grow any further with it while it's just you. Now, I've got a question for you, because I was like, if somebody's sitting here thinking, well, I've got a big to-do list and I'm here, like, how do I get more productive? And, yes, I get about prioritizing. Now, what would you say, what are some steps where you can, because you mentioned before, and I wanted to circle back around to the planning piece, because I think there's one thing about having your to-do list in front of you, that's what you've got today and now, that's very kind of immediate. Yeah. The other thing is about, planning and having that vision of what is it that we're doing? Where are we trying to get to? So if someone's listening today and they're thinking, oh yeah, I am just busy. I need to get a bit more structure. I need to be more productive so I can make progress. Yep. What are the things you'd recommend they do now? What's that first step in order to get them in that place where they're just adding that little bit more structure in so that they can be more productive? I
would suggest to use a project management tool that you like using, because if you don't like using a software, you're not going to use it. It will sit there, okay? Yeah. So you pick one that you like using, you put all your tasks in, and you put due dates. And the thing with that is, it helps you, it sort of takes it out of your head, it's in front of you, it's visual, and then it would help you plan. And then, you could potentially even put 15-minute activity, 1 hour activity, genius zone, activity. So then you can sort of rearrange the board with, either the length of time it takes or the priorities that you want to do first, second, third, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So there's a lot of ways, you can do it. But if you can actually see it and you use it throughout your week, it could be a very powerful tool.
Yeah, absolutely. What about in terms of thinking more than just in the day-to-day operations? So, we're talking about how you're going to prioritize. Well, there's sort of prioritizing based on, or that might generate some revenue, but how do they know what to do? And that's where I'd be looking at, do you have a process where people set a goal or a vision, and then you break it down so that you work backwards into the to-do list that way?
Yep. So I recently had, so in July, I planned with one of my clients for the rest of the year as to what she wants to achieve, like for her business. And what we did was we broke it down. So each quarter, she picked one thing, and it depends on what it is. So we picked the quarter for each thing that she wanted to achieve, and then we broke it down into months. So what are the things she needs to do in August, for example, to get that step closer to achieving that goal? Because, as I said before, Jess, if something's really big, it can be overwhelming and you're just going to go, nah, it's too hard. But if you break it down into, reasonable tasks or chunks of time and stuff, so then once you've broken it down, you can add it to your list for the week.
Yes.
So even if you dedicate a couple of hours a week to your business, you're going to be helping yourself more than you actually think.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? I love that. I think that's actually is a really good point as well to take home, because it's the difference between being scattered and doing activity that can be important and can have a result. So, you know, you might be like, well, on one hand, I can be creating content, putting it out there and saying things, and that's going to bring clients to me. On the other hand, what we're saying here is set that goal for your quarter, which is obviously linked to your bigger goal for the year or for the half year.
Yep.
And then for the month, you know, what is it this month that I need to do that's going to help me reach that quarter goal? That's that for me is a really important way of prioritizing activities. So like, okay, you're going to thinking about posting on social media, well, is that helping you to achieve that goal? If it's not, ask yourself, well, that's not then the top priority. You know, it might be a priority. You might think I need to do that for business as usual, but it's not the top priority. So it's not the thing that gets the first attention. You know, and if you do it that way, that's a way where you can achieve those goals because you're prioritizing the things that are helping you to reach the goals. And it might mean that you have to say, oh, okay, I can't do as much as what I thought I could with some of the other stuff.
That's right. And that's the thing, you know, and what makes it work, Jess, is not just to plan, it's to review, right? And this is what people don't do, right? So at the end of the week, you know, if you're having a go at it, make sure you're reviewing weekly. What's working? What's not working? Why is it not working? What can you do to fix it? So the next week, right, you're changing it up a bit so it does work, you know, and then you're sort of trialing again the next week with, you know, so you're tweaking all the time sort of thing until you find your groove, until you find that, you know, that momentum sort of thing. And it's important to have time for the day-to-day stuff like your social media and stuff, but it's also important to have the time in your week to work on those goals as well.
Yes.
So there's different layers, right, in your business.
Yeah.
and there's client work, of course, which is, you know.
Well, that's, yeah, I know. And that's the thing. I you know, might be sitting there thinking, gosh, there's all these different priorities that I need to have and ways that you do it. I think it's looking at, you know, break that down, as Steph, you just said, you know, you've got to say, well, you've got client work, and obviously that's really important. And then you're going to have what's going to help you reach the goals, then you're going to have what's sort of business as usual, or, you know, essential admin for operating your business. You will have things that are essential and then some that are maybe nice to haves. And once you put the blocks in, the big blocks of these are the essentials, then you can fill the gaps with more of the nice to haves. And
that's right. That's right. But you've got to review. You know, it's one thing to plan and execute, but if you're not reviewing, you're not actually seeing what's working and what's not. You're just going to be on autopilot, just trying to implement a plan that might or might not be working 110% for you.
Yes.
You know, and
what do you do? Like, what would you say if someone's not doing a review at the moment? Like, what is a good way to do a review that would be just maybe a habit they can start building? How would you suggest they go about it?
Well, on a Friday, you know, and look, weekly might be a bit much for some people. Okay, so start fortnightly. That's fine. You know, start fortnightly. Just give yourself 1 hour to have a look at the past fortnight and see what's worked, what hasn't worked. Is there something that's triggering, that's, you know, that's stressing you? Like, for example, like I said, you know, starting a meeting at 9:30 wasn't working for me, you know. What's working, what's not working? Then you want to focus on the what's not working so you can try and implement some, you know, something else for the next fortnight. So reviewing, people underestimate how important reviewing is, you know, in the process. It's part of the process, you know. So I think when you're going to plan, you need to review. So
I think that's such a great and simple thing, because just that question, you know, what has worked well or what hasn't worked well, and just ask yourself that and see what comes up. Maybe you've got nothing for that week. Maybe you're like, yeah, okay, everything was kind of fine. But asking the question, see what comes up. It doesn't have to take long, does it? Like, this review could literally be a couple of minutes where you just put your mind to what's happened and having a think about it.
I wouldn't give it a couple of minutes, Jess. I would give it at least half an hour where you don't need to think about anything else, right? So this is my example. So towards the end of the week on the Friday, once I've wrapped everything up, I like to give myself half an hour to an hour and just at least half an hour where you sit down, you look at your calendar, you see, because it will trigger you, you know, what meetings you had, what you did, all that. Just take the time to sit with it and just go, okay, this all went well. Oh, this didn't work well. Why didn't this work well? And then write it down, right? If we're going to be in a rush to do a review, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen properly, right? That's why I say my best time to do it is when I'm wrapping the week up, and I just give myself half an hour to an hour. I look at the previous week. I do it weekly personally, and just see what's working, what's not working. And if everything's working, great. But I'll bet you any money that there will be one thing that's not working because there's always something that's not going to work. And I'm not trying to sound like a pessimist or anything like that, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Look, spanners get thrown in the works, right? Urgent stuff come up where you have to shift your focus. It's just the way of life. Our kids get sick. We have to pivot. We have to sort of reprioritize, especially if our kids are a little bit younger. So there's going to be always something, that could be sort of looked at and go, okay, maybe I spent too much time on this, maybe I should have spent more time on this other one, sort of thing. And then in that review, once you're done with it, plan for the following week. And it doesn't have to be down to, the last minute. But if you're just giving yourself to plan what the priorities are going to be and what you want to achieve, walking into Monday, you're going to feel a lot more ready for it. You're going to be like, I've got my focus, I've got my direction and what I want to achieve this week. Let's see how we go.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's important, isn't it, to set that intention. And, even some of those insights that you get from the review, it might not be something that you need to action immediately, but you can capture it, right? Because
absolutely.
I think this is probably what I tend to do. I have those thoughts. I'm like, oh, that would be really good, or I should improve that process. And the thought's still in my brain. I haven't captured it somewhere. And so it'll either be sitting there niggling and adding to the mental load of all the things that I'm trying to remember, sort of, but not action right now, or it'll get forgotten about until it happens again.
Right. Yeah, that's right. And that's why, that's why you review and you write it down, because as you said, it might not be something you need to action right now, but if it happens again, you'll be like, okay, maybe this is something I really need to just give my time and attention to, just for, just to work out a way forward.
Yes. Oh, I love it. Really good. So what worked well, what didn't work well, and maybe what would I do differently next time?
Differently. Yes, that's right.
How would I do it differently? I like those questions. They're my debrief questions I normally do for marketing campaigns and activities, but I think this is really great to actually bring that into just, your week. How did it work? How didn't it work?
And the fourth one is, did you put anything off and why?
Okay.
Right. Now we're getting deep.
We're getting deep. Yes, I like that. What worked? What didn't work? How would you do it differently? And what did you put off and why?
And why? If you put anything off, did you put anything off and why? Because was it a time factor? Was it you not being able to break it down and just know that you've got to do 1, 2, 3 instead of this one big thing sort of thing, and sometimes people just go, I was procrastinating and I didn't get to it. But why? What is it? There's always a reason, Jess, why people don't do things, right? You just got to kind of dig deeper to understand the why. And then when you understand the why, you can sort of put a, solution together. So then you can at least start it. Because once you start something, Jess, you feel, do you know how many times I've heard, oh, all I had to do was start it and now, I don't know why I've put it off for so long. Have you ever heard that before?
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
So that's why it's important to understand the why as to why you're putting something off, and then just give it an hour and just get it started. And then you're not going to want to stop until it's done. It's usually what happens.
Yeah, you're so true. So right. I think I think I do that as well. If it's something that is unknown or it feels like there's a lot of different elements to it, it can just be sitting there, and my brain, I tend to see it all at once. So it feels like a lot. And it might just then be like, oh, this just feels too big. I don't want to start it. Whereas, you can then just go, right, how could I start? What could be that next thing? And actually just break it down, as you mentioned before. So that's wonderful. Now, do you have I love that 4-step process. I think that weekly debrief, amazing tip there. Do you have anything final that you would, maybe even say to your past self that you think has been absolute gold for you in terms of increasing productivity? A little nugget that you'd like to leave us with?
I think everyone knows this, Jess, and it's quite obvious, but I don't think people implement this, as much as they should. It's really just taking some time for yourself, because if you don't take the time to look after you, no one's going to do it for you, and you feel so much better if you just do one thing a week for you. Like you feel like you feel different, you feel like you're rewarding yourself, you're celebrating a win or whatever it is, but just do something for you, because especially as moms, it's so easy to just put ourselves last and go, oh, well, it didn't happen sort of thing, there'll be another week. And I'm guilty of it, Jess, right? Like I've got a massage voucher going back to Mother's Day, right? I have not used this bloody voucher. Do you know how many times I've been thinking about it? And I thought, okay, in September, it's the first month of spring, I'm going to, book it in and go get myself a massage, right? Yeah. But, it could be even smaller things than that, just go sit with a book in the sun or, just whatever it is, just do something for you, because we do this all for our families, but we've got to celebrate the wins for ourselves as well.
Oh, absolutely. No, I'm really glad you brought this up, because the strange thing is that sometimes that slowing down we won't do because we think there's more important stuff. There's all this in the business I need to do. But the actual slowing down and giving your brain space can actually help you speed up. And exactly. I've found that myself, and I struggle with it because I'm a bit of I have high expectations. I'm a high achiever. I'm one of those people. I've always got stuff to do. I can fill my days very easily. I'll never get bored. But I've found when I've made myself say, no, this is not me taking time off or slacking. This is actually important for my brain and well-being, like taking that moment going, no, I'm going to prioritize going to the gym this morning because I need to do that. I actually find I'm then far more productive, and I've given my brain a bit of space. I've given it something different. If I had just kept on going, I don't think I would have been able to achieve what I had.
That's right.
Then I've taken that space and time to relax. So I love that you said that. I think that is actually a massive key to productivity is looking after yourself. The golden goose that lays the eggs. You need to look after yourself.
I took a week off in July, Jess, and just getting to that point, I was like, no, I've got to keep working sort of thing. I've got so much to do sort of thing. And my husband said to me, he goes, your business isn't going to stop. Like it's not going to crumble if you just take some time and take a step back, come up for air, and just give yourself a breather,
Yes.
And it's so true, it's like, yeah, I guess he's got a point.
That's right.
And it does, it gives you that breather. You just sort of come off the wheel a little bit, that, the wheel you keep running on, and you just step off for a minute, and then you're ready to jump back on. And as you said, when you jump back on, your productivity is through the roof because you've done something for yourself. You've taken the time to go to the gym, you've had a Pilates class, or you've done whatever helps you center yourself, But I think that's just as important as everything else.
Yeah. And I think, anytime that I've felt really overwhelmed or, that there's a lot going on in my brain, and I might be sitting down to this to-do list thinking, well, okay, I've got to figure this out. And, you're thinking and you're kind of trying to make it happen. You're trying to think it through. That'll lead to me tending to overthink, procrastinate, all sorts of things. The fastest way to get that insight, I found, is actually to just walk away from it.
Leave it alone.
If my brain is feeling like it's overloaded and I've got to think this through, like just step away, go go for a walk, go to the gym, go and do some shopping, cook, whatever, like just go get out of the office, go and just give yourself that space, because you might even need more than just a few hours. You might need a day. You just might need a day to go, I'm not going to consciously think about my business. It'll of course come up. We all know that, like it happens, right? It doesn't matter who you are, you'll be thinking about it. But that's where the insights come through, because you've often know the answer and it's in your subconscious. And if you're not giving your brain time to just stop thinking, you're not letting that subconscious thought come through. And the answers are there. Let them come. If they're not coming immediately, you're trying to force them or figure it out, like just stop, because they are there. We just often aren't giving ourselves the time and space to allow them in. Which I've found out myself by doing it the long, hard way as well.
And that's how we learn, right? We learn through the hard way, but that's okay, because, that's how we learn. But as long as we take that moving forward, right, Jess? So next time, you can't work something out, just as you said, walk away from it. Go do something else. Like I looked at a document that I couldn't look at anymore, because it was like I looked at it that many times that, it was just all words on a page. It became words on a page. And I thought, okay, I'm going to leave this document till tomorrow morning when I'm nice and fresh, because I'm like you. I work best, my focus is mainly in the morning.
Yeah.
I looked at it the next day and I thought, if I just left this alone and came to it, the next morning, I would have saved myself so much more time as well,
Yes, exactly. Whenever you're trying to force something to happen, it's gone too far. Yeah. You should just put it down and have a break. Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Steph. Now, if anybody is wanting to connect with you and learn more from you, follow you along on your socials, where can they find you, or where's the best place for them to
Sure. So I'm on Instagram, Facebook and LinkedIn. I am focusing on Instagram and LinkedIn, but wherever you go, you'll find me.
Awesome. Well, I'll link those up in the show notes and pop your website in there as well, so they can come and learn more from you or find out a bit more about working with you if they're interested in being supported.
Thank you, Jess. Yeah, that's great.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. This has been a really great episode. I know that we could talk for ages about this.
Yes, thank you for having me.
I think we've given everybody a lot to think about today. So hopefully you've had a bit of a pen and paper out while you're listening and taken a few notes, because there's been some real nuggets of gold in there. Thank you so much for sharing, Steph. I've really enjoyed it.
Thanks for having me, Jess. So fun.
You've been battling with your niche for many years, and you know that you could define it better. You're just not sure how, and you keep on getting stuck on how you can be more specific and how you can really find that place that is the right spot for you. How to choose, the right niche for yourself. Absolutely. Really good question. Well, then I invite you to look at my short course. It's called Know Your Niche. In literally over a weekend, you can get that done. You can define your niche, and next week you can be clear about exactly what it is that you're doing in your business, who it is that you're most wanting to attract, how you can speak to them, how you can make sure your service offering is aligned to them, and build your marketing plan to attract them, to connect with them. Now, Know Your Niche is usually a $297 program. If you head to my website right now at jessicaosborne.com/niche and put in code 50, I will take 50% and you can pay 50%. So we can go halves in the Know Your Niche program as my gift for you for listening to my podcast. Thank you for listening in. And you can get started with your niche definition, really break through some of those barriers and get clear on what it is that you want to be doing, what you want to be known for, who you're wanting to work with, so that you can be more clear, have faster growth, and stand out above the rest as a credible authority in your space. So head to jessicaosborne.com/niche to get clear on how you know your niche right now.